Okay, today's video we're going to talk about a couple of important things, but I want to start off with a couple of things that are completely ridiculous. I just noticed these little vibrations in the swimming pool down here, and it looks like a giant ultrasonic cleaner like they have at jewelry stores to clean your rings and stuff. I think maybe when summertime gets here I'm going to come down here with a bunch of jewelry on and see if it gets it clean. That's just kind of a random thought for the day, but as long as I'm here, I want to show you something else. I'm going to hand the camera slowly here. And if you notice here on the ground, you have bird droppings. Well, I'm out here on the patio of the coffee shop I hang out at, and this patio has these rafters, and up on that rafter there you'll see this owl that they put up try and scare off birds. Only thing is, the birds seem to think of that owl as a friend. It doesn't seem to faze them at all. I think there's some birds over here. I'm not sure I can get them in the shot. They're being shy now. But you know, the birds that are out here pooping on everybody and dropping stuff into the coffee that we won't even talk about, they seem to think of this fake owl as being their friend. So, you know, I came out here one day with a pellet gun, and I mean, I did more good in terms of discouraging the birds to hang out in this area in about an hour than that owl has done in probably about 6 months. So I'm saying the owl is pretty much worthless. You can be the judge, but birds know what a pellet gun is. They don't seem to care what a fake owl is. Anyway, more important stuff on the other side. Hey guys, sorry for the little distraction there at the beginning of the video. Some days my mind just kind of wanders off in odd directions. Most days it wanders off in odd directions, to be perfectly honest with you. And anyway, that brings us to where we are. You know, I see other people making videos, and I get quite a few questions about a topic that I never have really quite known how to answer. And while I'm just in kind of a relaxed and reflective mood today, I thought I'd spend a few minutes and talk to you about this question that keeps popping up. And the question is basically concerning education. I've got a lot of people that are teenagers or in their early 20s, and they're debating about whether or not they should go to school, you know, to go to college, go to university, or whether they should go back to school, or if they should go ahead and try to you know, make a living online with e-commerce. And you know, for me, honestly, it's not a really simple question to answer. I want to be truthful with people. You know, life has been good to me. I was fortunate enough to go to school at a time when I could go to school almost for free. I came out of a four-year university first time around with about $3,000 in student loans. If I were in the same position today, I'd probably be looking at coming out with about $65,000 in student loans. So, you know, that changes the equation quite a bit. I then went on and went to graduate school and spent more years than I'm even going to tell you about in graduate school in a variety of different fields. And to be perfectly honest, I can't tell you one thing I learned as an undergrad or one thing I learned in graduate school that I have ever actually used in my adult life. Like a lot of people, I ended up taking my life in a direction different than the one that, you know, I might have charted for myself just based on my paper resume, if you will. I ended up going into the world of private equity. I worked with a private equity company for 20 years, and at no time was an advanced degree in English or education or clinical psychology ever expected of me. And at no time did it ever provide me with with any information or insight that I can really point at and say, yes, I needed that information and it was worth the years it took me to get it. But with that said, there is one thing that I think I learned, and it's hard to put a price on it, it's hard to put a value on it, but I will tell you, I use it every day. It is extremely valuable when it comes to being an entrepreneur, extremely valuable when it comes to working with e-commerce, and that is my ability to research topics, to research products, just my ability to focus and to hone in on the information that is of value and to discard all the other information that's not of value. I really can't tell you if this is something I learned in school or if it's something that was just born with me, that was there from the time of birth. I honestly don't know. But one thing about being an entrepreneur is that you must be inquisitive at all times. You must be turning over rocks all the time. I'm not an entrepreneur in the sense that a lot of people are using the word these days, where it seems like they're just looking for the next big thing. I have worked my entire life in about 3 or 4 different kind of areas, and I put down roots in those areas, and I have moved back and forth between those areas on multiple occasions, just based on my personal preference, based on my attention span, based on the economy. I have not only multiple sources of income, multiple streams of income, but I have, I guess you'd say, multiple islands of interest. I should have thought about how to express this before I turned on the camera. But I have different areas of interest that are completely separate and apart from each other, so that if one area gets hit hard, like say some things happened in 2007, 2008 when the economy collapsed, some other areas still stay strong or even thrive under those different conditions. So yeah, school was important. I feel like it enriched my life. It gives me and continues to give me a perspective on things that I find valuable. But when you take the word value and you start putting a price tag on it, the way you have to do when you're doing the calculus of your life, so to speak, and you're sitting there at 18 or 19 or 20 years of age, and you're trying to ask yourself, is it worth taking on $50,000 or $100,000 or even more in student debt versus what you think the payoff will be in 4 years or 8 years? It's a decision each of you is going to have to make. I don't envy you that decision. You're going to have to make a decision and be happy with it and work with that for the rest of your life. I will tell you this, I don't think having a good education has hurt me in any way. But again, if I were looking at the math of it today and the possibility of being, big time 5 figures or even 6 figures in debt, I might make different decisions. I really might. So I don't have a good, hard, fast answer for you. I'll tell you this, though, just as a cautionary tale. I have a friend who went back to school as an adult about 7 or 8 years ago, and he went back and got his master's and got his PhD. He wanted to teach, and he obtained a PhD in history, and at the time he started this endeavor, he had about 100% chance of being hired on as a tenured track professor at a university somewhere in the United States and having a pretty good life moving forward. By the time he actually obtained his PhD, the entire world of higher education in the U.S. had changed dramatically. Universities were not filling vacated seats. They were bringing in adjunct professors, and he found himself in a situation where, realistically speaking, he has maybe a 5 or 10% chance, if that, of ever getting a tenure track position. So for the last 2 or 3 years now, he's been working as an adjunct professor and making about $16 an hour. He has roughly $100,000 in student loans. It's over $100,000. I don't know exactly how much, but in his particular case, the math just didn't work out for him because, like I said, factors out in the outside world that he had no control over really stepped in and altered the landscape quite a bit. That could happen to any of you. I'm rambling here, I realize, but you look at these football players, American football, NFL players, or basketball players that hold out at the beginning of their first season to get more money, and you think, gosh, they're being offered millions of dollars to just show up and play, but they want millions more. And I've started to understand why that may be the case, because they could go out there and be injured in their first game, and they could lose the livelihood that they have worked so hard to have an opportunity to participate in, and it could be over in a second. So as an entrepreneur, or as someone who's considering becoming an entrepreneur, if you have an opportunity to engage in e-commerce in whatever area you want to, whether it be affiliate marketing or Amazon FBA or Shopify or eBay, if the potential income there is significantly more than what the income would be from a career field that you might be considering going to school for, I don't think it's a bad idea to consider maybe taking a year off and really throwing yourself into that as a serious endeavor, coming up with a strategy, getting the appropriate training, and giving yourself a year to really test the waters and give it a fair chance at success. You may very well find that at some point in time you do want to go back to school for just your personal benefit, but it's a lot easier to go back to school if you have a six-figure income that is largely location independent and time of day independent, where you can work a few hours a week and maintain a comfortable income the whole time you're in school. It makes things go a lot easier, trust me. In my particular case, I'll tell you just a quick story. I had a situation where when I was engaged in a graduate program and was nearing completion of the program, I had to withdraw from school due to a family emergency, an illness in my family, and I was called into one of the academic advisor's offices and was basically attacked, if you will, by about 3 different faculty members who said I was making a horrible mistake, that did I realize what I was giving up, yes, I could come back, but most people who leave school never go back, and they really put a hard sell on me. They wanted me to stay there and complete the program, and they started telling me about the type of money that people with master's degrees in that field were earning, and what they were telling me I could expect to get on an annual basis was roughly what I was making on a monthly basis at the time through e-commerce. So it created kind of an amusing scenario. They had no idea that basically I was pretty well off financially. At this point in time, I was in my 30s, and I'd been pretty successful since I was in my early 20s, and certainly financially independent since my early 20s. So to have a bunch of professors telling me that I was making a horrible mistake that I'd never recover from financially, the reality of it was that if I took the time I spent in school and devoted to my e-commerce activities at the time, I would have been making multiples of what I was already making, and I was earning well into 6 figures a year at that point in time. So I don't know, I'm just rambling. Just wanted to talk to you, give you some things to think about when this question comes up about should you go to school, should you pursue that degree, pursue that career, or should you maybe follow your passion or see if there's a better opportunity for you online. I sincerely believe that we are in a golden age right now, that there's no better time to get involved in the online world than there is right now. We've progressed through the 90s and the early 2000s, where it was kind of the Wild West and there was a lot of underhanded stuff taking place. Now, things are pretty legit. Certainly dealing with Amazon, eBay, Shopify, and some other platforms online, you don't have to worry about being ripped off. All the people that complain about having their accounts suspended or having, bad experiences with Amazon, those are people that were largely cutting corners and were misleading potential clients. They were, overstating the quality of a product being offered. They weren't providing good customer service. Amazon, eBay, Shopify, all just want to provide a good customer experience, and that good customer experience leads to more customers and more income for all of us that are willing to abide by the rules and keep the platforms legit. So that's my thought on that. I'll touch on this a little bit. I'm sitting out here at one of my favorite places. This is just a coffee shop near home. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday, and whether it's appealing to you or not, working online gives me the freedom to come out here and hang out on a weekday at 2 in the afternoon and have a beverage of water that's been filtered through some kind of burnt bean. Apparently people like this. I don't know. It's not really my thing, but oh well. But you have a lot of freedom. People, especially people in the United States, that we throw the word freedom around quite a bit. But I assure you that when you have a mortgage, when you have car payments, when you have student loan debt, you have no freedom. Okay, your employer owns your ass. You need to just accept that fact. If you have an opportunity as a relatively young individual to put some money away, to potentially go out here and buy your house as opposed to mortgaging the house for 30 years, if you can restrain your inner demons and not go out and buy a Lamborghini, but invest that money, invest it in yourself, you will honestly, you will really thank yourself when you're in your 30s and your 40s, because you will have by that point in time accumulated real wealth. You will have enjoyed the freedom that financial security offers you, and you will be in a better place than probably almost anyone you know. You're not going to be you're not going to be a slave to your own debt. I know people that are in their 40s and are just now paying off student loans that they acquired 20 years ago. Guys, honestly, debt is the opposite of freedom. So anything you can do to avoid that debt, I encourage you very strongly to do it. Again, financial freedom is great. My day-to-day started off with me hitting the snooze button about 4 or 5 times this morning. It was colder than expected last night. I just didn't want to get out of bed. So I rolled out of bed about an hour and a half after I had planned to. Went out and did a little bit of work on my house outside. We had a bunch of rain here yesterday, and just want to go out and take care of a few things, and got that taken care of. And I've been pretty much playing around the rest of the day. Spent a couple of hours online like I do every day, just checking statistics on Amazon, looking for some new products. I'm always thinking about new products to offer. I'm always researching. I'm always curious. I'm constantly watching other people when I'm out in public to see if they're using a product that I've never seen before, or if they're talking about something that I've never heard of before. I don't chase trends, as those of you who watch the channel know, but by the same token, I'm always looking for something that's new and better than what people are currently using. And if I can get in at the beginning of a trend, I'm not opposed to doing that. But with that said, again, I keep my life very simple. Most of the products I sell are normal, everyday household items, things that everybody needs and that they use every day, and that they can't live without. So there's always going to be a market for those things. My investment in terms of time and marketing and researching those products pays off many, many times over. When I have products that have lifespans for me of anywhere from 2 years to 5 years or more, where once I get that product up and ranked, I can almost sit back and just treat it as the cash flow machine that it is, and just watch the revenue flow in and I can modify that revenue by upping my ad spend, or I can lower my ad spend if it just isn't necessary anymore, and just let the product's natural ranking and natural placement online do the rest for me. But I spend a couple of hours every day just kind of looking at things, playing around online. I'm online anyway. It's hard really to determine what part of that is work and what part of that is just me playing online. But it's certainly not the same as having somebody standing over my shoulder asking me when I'm producing a spreadsheet for them and they tell me they want it on their desk at my close of business today. I work to my own schedule. I do what I want to do. If I take 2 or 3 days off and don't do anything, that's perfectly fine. I really could condense everything I do into probably 5-6 hours on a Saturday or Sunday. Or I can do it an hour or 2 hours a day, just depending on how I feel. It's completely up to me. Again, it goes back to the word freedom. But in any case, I don't really have anything else to offer. This was just some miscellaneous ramblings. I got some messages this morning asking me again about school and if I thought that was a good investment. Or somebody was asking me how they could talk to their parents about not wanting to go to school. And today it just hit a little bit closer to home. I have some people in my family that are asking me the same thing. I have some nephews that are at that point where they're working, they enjoy working, but the family's pushing them to go to school, and I'm pushing them to do something online. So it's a relevant topic in my life. It may be a relevant topic in your life. And, again, I have no answers here. I can only offer you some wisdom and some thoughts that I've had over my adult life. I wouldn't take anything for the time I spent in school. I liked school. I enjoyed it. I was good at it. But by the same token, I can't tell you that the thousands and thousands of hours I spent studying and the thousands and thousands of dollars I spent paying for it all have ever really put a penny back in my pocket. The one thing where there's really a question mark is how to place a value on the research skills that I developed during that period of time. But if you're a naturally inquisitive person and a curious person and you can focus and concentrate, I don't think you need to go to school and pay tens of thousands of dollars to have someone teach you how to do research and write a paper. But anyway, I don't have a lot more to offer on this subject, at least not right now. If I come up with anything more coherent, I'll be sure to let you know. But if you have not done so, please hit like and subscribe below. And if you have any questions or comments, please do leave them. I read every comment. I respond to every comment either directly or in an upcoming video. And your thoughts matter to me. I'm always learning, and I learn as much from you as I hope you do from me. So please hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.